This City Council meeting of the City of Oak Park is called to order. Please stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
City Clerk Ed Norris, please call the roll.
Mayor McClellan.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Levine.
Here.
Councilmember Seligson.
Here.
Councilmember Burns.
Here.
Councilmember Speech.
Here. We have a quorum. Next is the approval of the agenda. Please note three changes, three additions. Under item number 7, special recognitions, please add Dan Hunter from Oakland County with a proclamation. Under 14, city attorney, add an item B, new lawsuits. Uh, 15, under item 15H, please add item I, CNI Futurists, a new business in Oak Park. And item J, contribution to the facade improvement authority. So we need a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
So
Support. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, we have the consent agenda. These are routine items presented for City Council approval without discussion as a single item. Any council member can disapprove any item and have it dropped from the blanket motion. Item A, regular council meeting minutes of October 19, 2015. B, Employees Retirement Board and Public Safety Retirement Board meeting minutes of July 27, 2015. C, Recycling and Environmental Conservation Commission meeting minutes of August 20th, 2015. D, Public Safety Activity Summary for September 2015. E, recommendation to change the time for the December 15th Beautification Advisory Commission from 7 o'clock to 6 o'clock. F, request to approve an agreement with the Road Commission for Oakland County for winter maintenance on Greenfield Road from 8 Mile to 11 Mile and on 10 Mile from Greenfield to Oakdale. This is a thing that we do every year. G, Library Board meeting minutes of August 18th, 2015. H, licenses new and renewals is submitted for November 2nd, 2015. A motion to approve the consent agenda, please.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Do we have elected officials? Judge Apple. Is she part of another item?
Yes, but she's also an elected official.
Okay, we'd like to recognize Judge Michelle Apple, the judge of our court. Would you like to come up now or wait for your item to?
We have a time. Do you want to take it now, or it's under the city manager's report?
Under the city manager. When it's on the agenda. We'll see you later. Item 7, special recognition and presentations. Just a little extra special recognition. I met a former resident, Harriet Booth, who moved here, I think, in the 40s, and her grandfather was the first village president of Oak Park Village. And this was the gavel. They meant business back in the day. We have a very special honor today. We're going to honor 2 of our council members who have served Oak Park honorably and well for many, many years. We'd like to start with Councilmember Seligson, who I think has the cutest visitor. Oh, Levine, sorry. Yeah, right. Oh, no, you don't have the cutest visitor, sorry.
Sorry.
Seligson. I would like to read this plaque
in special recognition of your service. Council member from 1991 to 2005, 2007 to 2009, 2011 to 2015, Mayor Pro Tem 2005 to 2007, and 2009 to 2011. The Mayor and Council of the City of Oak Park, Michigan, in testament and tribute to his distinguished public service and lasting contributions to the City of Oak Park and its residents, wish to express their sincere appreciation to Councilmember Michael M. Seligson. While confronting a range of community issues and unprecedented challenges, you were and always will be an ally and friend to the people of Oak Park. Your sustained commitment to civic participation and providing the best possible services to the citizens while continually seeking to improve their quality of life will also serve as a reminder to city employees and officials to put the people of Oak Park first. We thank you. He doesn't want the applause to go on too long.
No.
It'll drag the meeting out. Can we have a photo op?
Sure.
Yes, please come down. The next honor is for Mayor Pro Tem Paul Levine. In special recognition of Paul H. Levine, years of service as a council member, 2007 to 2013, as Mayor Pro Tem, 2013 to 2015. The Mayor and Council of the City of Oak Park, Michigan, in testament and tribute to his distinguished public service and lasting contributions to the City of Oak Park and its residents, wish to express their sincere appreciation to Mayor Pro Tem Paul H. Levine. While confronting a range of community issues and amazingly unprecedented challenges, you were and always will be an ally and friend of the people of Oak Park. Your sustained commitment to civic participation and providing the best possible services to the citizens while continually seeking to improve their quality of life will always serve as a reminder to city employees and officials to put the people of Oak Park first. We thank you for your service. I think you worked for the City of Oak Park in the Recreation Department. A little history?
Parks and Forestry back in the 70s.
Parks and Forestry. Wonderful. Oh, we're gonna. City Manager Eric Tungate would like to say a few words.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of council. It's not often that we, and for those of you that don't know, by the way, this is two of our members' last meeting. But it's not often, what's that? Full meeting. Last full meeting.
Oh, that's true.
And it's not often, you know, we get so caught up in the daily rigmarole that it's not often we get to celebrate the service of any one of these individuals, let alone the two individuals that are going to no longer be with us, who have given so much of their hard earned work and time to this great city. These are two members, by the way, looks a little bit personal for me because these are two members of the City Council who hired me back in 2012. Well, thank you. And it's you know, they took a chance on me, and for the betterment of this city, I hope. And for that, I will always be grateful. And I will never forget the contributions the two of you have made, not only in my personal life, but to this great city. So thank you very much, and I wanted to say that tonight to you.
Nice. Beautiful. Moving on to item 11, accounting reports. Need another presentation. Oh, sorry, Dan Hunter. Thanks. Dan Hunter is from Oakland County. Can you tell us
Good
about
evening.
why you're here?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Yes, Dan Hunter, Deputy Director of Oakland County Economic Development and Community Affairs. I am here on behalf of the County Executive, Brooks Patterson, to present the city with a proclamation for some really, really excellent work by a great team. Not only the mayor and council, but the staff. And our staff works with your team almost on a daily basis. I can count projects, FedEx, One Stop Ready, and on and on. But this is in recognition of an award that was presented to the city last week by the University of Michigan Dearborn called their E-Cities. And this is a program that I think is in its 9th year, and Oakland County has been a sponsor for the last 3 or 4 years. We really believe in the program and the hard work that's being done by many, many cities. So with that, I'd like to read the proclamation. L. Brooks Patterson hereby issues the special proclamation saluting the city of Oak Park on the occasion of its selection as a 2015 E-Cities Best Practices Community on October 30th of 2015. Whereas the city of Oak Park participated in a research study conducted by the University of Michigan Dearborn that examined community factors that influence entrepreneurship, economic development, and job growth. And whereas the city of Oak Park shared its best practices for economic development, which includes conducting roundtable events to connect businesses with community resources. And whereas the city of Oak Park was chosen from 66 Michigan communities and honored for its superior efforts to spur economic development in Oak Park and Oakland County. Now, therefore, let it be known that I, L. Brooks Patterson, Oakland County Executive, do hereby authorize the issuance of this special proclamation saluting the city of Oak Park on the occasion of its selection as a 2015 E-Cities Best Practices Community. So from me to you is a round of applause. We don't share our major accomplishments enough. We don't pat each other on the back. And so I went back and told Brooks that we had had lunch last weekend in Dearborn, great program, and he just thought the world of it. So that's what this is about. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
So with that, I thank you.
Thank you, Director Hunter, for coming and presenting this.
Thank
What's it? How about all of us? Wait a minute, Dan, we need you back. We don't do anything without taking pictures in Oak Park.
Photo op.
Photo op.
That's true. Maybe they'll get you the stairs
So we have something else to put on display with this wonderful declaration is the eCities 2015 Top Performing Entrepreneurial Communities presented to Oak Park. That's beautiful. Can you see? There you go. Beautiful? That's wonderful. So we've got several things to put on display. Amazing good news, just amazing. Now we're on accounting practices. Approval of for payment of an invoice submitted by Garen Lukau Miller, PC, for legal services in the total amount of $3,249.80. Motion to approve this payment? Support. Support. Any discussion or questions? Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Burns?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Levine?
Yes.
Mayor McClellan?
Yes.
Councilmember Seligson?
Yes.
Councilmember Speech?
Yes.
Motion carries. Item 13. This is, we need an approval of the second reading and adoption of proposed text amendments to the City of Oak Park zoning ordinance. Article 18 signs is recommended by the Planning Commission. A motion to approve the second reading and adoption, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion or questions? Roll call, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Levine?
Yes.
Mayor McClellan?
Yes.
Councilmember Seligson?
Yes.
Councilmember Speech?
Yes.
Councilmember Burns?
Yes.
Motion carries. Item 14 is the report from the city attorney, Ebony Duff.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Honorable Council. First item I have for you this evening is a request for approval of a tentative consent judgment in the tax tribunal matter of Rite Aid of Michigan versus City of Oak Park. It is MTT docket number 140035552. I have presented all of you with a copy of the proposed judgment as well as a summary of the tax assessment at issue. In summary, this is an appeal of the 2014 and 15 assessment on this property. The proposed settlement will result in an approximate reduction of $6,000 in city taxes for both years at issue. We have conducted a review of comparable properties and do believe that this settlement is in the best interest of the city. And if you all have any questions, I can address them at this time. Otherwise, I'm seeking your approval to sign the consent judgment.
Okay, we
So-
have questions.
Oh, no.
Or just request for approval of this consent agenda then.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion or questions?
Good work.
No, good work. Good point. Do we need a roll call? Yes, roll call, please.
Mayor McClellan?
Yes.
Councilmember Seligson?
Yes.
Councilmember Speech?
Yes.
Councilmember Burns?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Levine?
Yes.
Motion carried. Item B, which was just added, is information about new lawsuits.
I'm sorry, we have one more from, oh, yes, okay.
Yeah, thank you. And I just briefly wanted to state, at your next meeting, you'll receive a report from the assessor, but I am pleased that with this settlement with the Rite Aid case, there is only one remaining full tax tribunal appeal currently pending. We do expect that that will be resolved favorably for the city as well. And just want to give you a full report on that at the next meeting. I think the city manager also wants to speak to that issue.
Council members, the one thing I wanted to add to that, and it's really a testament to our new legal staff, is that with the settlement that will be brought to your attention at the next meeting, I believe that we will be substantially under budget in terms of these MTT settlements, and I know that was a big issue for all of you. So the good news is I think we're going to be well within range and probably save quite a bit of money on this whole thing. Good. Thank you, Ebony.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The next item I have for you is just notice of two recent lawsuits that were filed against the city. The first is an individual versus the City of Oak Park and City of Oak Park Public Safety, as well as the City of Centerline and their Public Safety Department. This arises out of a false arrest matter back in 2014. It has been tendered to the city's insurance carrier. We do expect that there will be a counsel provided, and you'll receive a report once that action has been concluded. The lawsuit is on file with the clerk's office if you like any additional details or to review it personally. Also, on October 22nd, we received notice that there was a class action suit filed against the City of Oak Park. This is by a group of Oak Park residents with respect to claims that the water and sewer rates and fees are violation of the Headley Taxation Amendment. Unfortunately, we were just served with this lawsuit today and received notice that there is no insurance coverage available for this. Garen Luco Miller has requested or offered to serve as litigation counsel for this matter through John Galuli. And at this time, if you are in agreement with that assignment, we just ask that you offer a formal motion to approve the assignment of counsel.
Motion to approve assignment of counsel for this class action.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Discussion.
Oh, discussion, sorry. Yes, please.
Have they just chosen Oak Park to be a test case for this?
No, actually, my understanding, this is a specific group of residents that has only been filed against the City of Oak Park.
That's very interesting.
Can you give us a little detail?
Again, this is a proposed class action. The class has not been certified as of yet, but these are residents who are claiming that they are obligated to pay certain fees and rates with respect to our water and sewer charge that they believe are violative of the Michigan Constitution. And also they believe that it operates as a tax as opposed to a fee or rate that the city can reasonably or legally charge for those services.
Thank you.
Mayor?
Yes.
Who is the council representing these people?
Counsel is the Kim Hanley PLC. Through Attorney Gregory Hanley, Jamie Worrell. and
Have you ever heard of them
Edward
before?
I have not.
Thank you. What are the chances that they'll get certified as a class?
At this point, I cannot offer any opinion
Because
as to
that's
the
usually pretty
certification.
difficult to get certification.
That's
as a
right,
class.
and there are only 2 named residents in the class at this time. Again, there will be a motion to certify the class, and there is not sufficient information here to determine whether that will occur, whether a judge will grant that.
Sounds interesting anyway.
And I do have a copy of the suit, which is on file with the clerk's office if you'd all like to review it and discuss further detail.
Madam Mayor, I have a question.
Council member Speech.
Attorney Duff, my question is actually in line with Councilman Seligsen's. If it's only a proposed suit at this time with 2 class actions, if we do any further action, does that give them any type of standing to become a class action?
Nothing that we would do at this point would assist them in gaining status as a class action plaintiff. But just to be clear, the lawsuit is filed, so there is a formal lawsuit. But then there will be a determination as to whether the plaintiffs in the case meet the requirements for a class action certification. And at this point, again, I don't have sufficient information to know whether that will be granted.
Okay, so since it is a formal lawsuit, we do need a motion to have an attorney represent us in the formal lawsuit, and then going forward, that attorney would be able to tell us what's going on with whether it's a class action or not a class action.
That is
Because they
correct.
would argue that point.
That is correct. As soon as counsel is assigned, you will have a closed session scheduled to advise you of the legal status of the lawsuit and also strategy for defending the case.
Okay, thank you.
Further questions? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Seligson.
Yes.
Councilmember Speech.
Yes.
Councilmember Burns.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Levine.
Yes.
Mayor McClellan.
Yes, motion carried. Attorney Duff, was there a third?
No, that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have the city manager section of the agenda.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of council. I'd like to ask our Chief Judge Apple to join me at the podium. We are going to discuss the 2016 Veterans Treatment Court Grant Program.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Tungate. I'd like to add my congratulations to Councilman Seligson and Councilman Levine on hard work. Many have the ability to serve, but not everyone chooses to do so, and they are, congratulations, well deserved. So, with me is Heather Ruffles, who is supervisor of my probation department. This is actually the second time that we've been here. This is the second grant on my Veterans Treatment Court. When I came before you last time with the first grant, it was more of a dream. We had 1 or 2 veterans. We are now up to 25 veterans. We have sessions twice a month. This is not a match. This is simply a grant through the state of Michigan that funds treatment that's not covered by the VA. It funds a 30-hour-a-week case management program and provides for some additional items that we provide and services we provide through the court to our vets. As I described earlier, these are individuals who have been honorably discharged that for various reasons have become involved in the criminal justice system and have a special need in terms of how they should be dealt with. And what the research has shown is that they tend to not do well in a traditional sense, and this provides the opportunity not only to serve them, to keep their record clean in some occasions, to deal with the issue of their resistance to deal with the VA. We have a VJO, or a case manager, that is assigned to our court that provides a liaison between us and the court, so they're getting services on both ends. We have attorneys dedicated to the court. Those fees are also covered by the grant. So we have now had 2 graduations. In fact, Mayor McClellan did attend the first graduation, and a month and a half ago, we had our second, and we had 3 vets. They remain involved. Some of them are coming back to be mentors, and that's part of the program as well. It's not only the treatment part of it, but it's the community created and the mentors that become involved. So we feel very fortunate that we are able to do this. It's one of the more remarkable things I've had the opportunity to do in my last 12 years as a judge, and this is simply requesting that you approve it so that we can accept the funds. Any questions? This is a wonderful thing that you're doing. We're very proud of you, that you're reaching out to veterans who need it and providing help. It's a blessing in our community.
We've actually been very fortunate because now we are getting referrals
from other communities within southern Oakland County. So because we only have the only Veterans Court at the south end, we're getting referrals from Hazel Park, Ferndale, Madison Heights, Royal Oak. And when we are more geographically convenient, so for instance, someone picked up a case in Waterford but lives in this area, we're getting those referrals from those courts too. So we are really feel like we're serving the county.
Making a difference.
Thanks, we hope.
Do we have a motion on the floor? No. We need a motion to approve the authorization of the fiscal year 2016 Veterans Treatment Court Grant Program.
So moved. So moved.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion or questions or comments? Councilmember Speech.
Well, first, I want to say thank you for opening the court up to this possibility. I'm a baby of a veteran. I was actually sworn in on Veterans Day. That was my first day in this capacity. So I totally understand and appreciate any program that helps vets. My question is whether this program how many veterans it fully funds. Is there capacity to the program since you're getting referrals? And then once you meet that capacity, what's the plan? I know you have $30,000, but I don't know how much of that is for your part-time case manager and, et cetera.
So that funds 30 hours a week for a case manager. Ms. Ruffles also works the program, so she is paid through our normal budget line to do work through that. The dollars, most of the treatment doesn't cost us any. So yes,
Okay.
at some point we could reach capacity. It's a function of how many cases I can see. It's a very intense court.
Okay.
So it's it started out where we were seeing we only needed to do it 1 day a month. Now, because it's gotten so big, we're doing it 2 days a month, and then the vets who have greater needs are actually being required to show both of those days. It's also a burden in terms of how many people my probation officers can see. You can describe what they...
Certainly. The veterans, at this point, they see the probation department, case manager, or myself minimally once monthly. In the early phases, they come in weekly. They're testing 4 to 5 times weekly for alcohol and other drugs. They also are required to attend counseling programs, which, as the judge described, generally are funded through the VA in Detroit. So that's not a cost to the grant. We did have rollover dollars from our previous grant year. So we do have more than the $30,000 that we're seeking approval from tonight.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilmember Burns.
Just a question. Do you have a number thus far of vets that you've seen and treated thus far, 20, 30?
So our total number is 32. Right now, that's 5 graduates, correct? 6 graduates. So the number that I described are the active vets right now. The other thing about the dollars that I would say is because of our relationship with the VA and because we've now learned more about the community and processing and getting involved with different members. So for example, we have someone from Oakland County that now sits on our team. And so he is there helping with benefits. He has bus passes. We have a housing counselor that is funded through the VA that is sitting on our board. Typically, it's a team approach. So the hour and a half before we go into court, our team of 8 people meet to go through the cases. But at the same time, the vets are there and we're bringing in service people. We provide lunch, actually I provide lunch. And while they are having lunch, they have housing counselors, they have vocational counselors.
That's awesome.
They have all kinds of different people that come in to provide additional services. So even though you're looking at a dollar amount, we're really coordinating and marshaling a lot of different resources. Just this past week, we were at a meeting out in Pontiac that invited every single agency or nonprofit, so public and non-public, into one meeting so that we became aware and we were able to network and came away with additional
services that we can now turn around and offer or make our vets know. Our mentors are driving them places. Those are volunteers. Actually, one of the head of our mentors is Ted Kozlowski, which many of you know, and he has helped with transportation when we can't get someone where they need to go. So,
Okay, thank you.
I'm all done.
Okay, thank you. We're very proud to be housing this grant and everything you're putting your hearts and soul into it. It's very obvious that you care very deeply, and the lunch is just an extra. Jewish mothers have to feed you.
yeah. And I hope when you get the invitation to the next graduation that you find time to come see it.
We will do it. Be there. Thank you so much for what you do. Can we give them a round of applause? We got a vote.
You have to vote.
We need a vote.
Approve it. Now will you approve it?
You need a roll call? Yes.
Councilmember Speech,
Yes.
Councilmember Burns,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Levine.
Yes.
Mayor McClellan,
Yes.
Councilmember Seligson.
Yes.
Motion carries, and mazel tov.
Thank you. Do you have a copy? Do you want my copy? Because we. You have it?
Thank you.
So that's this one.
Okay. Madam Mayor, members of council, the next two items are board and commission appointments. And Madam Mayor, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, we need a motion to appoint Michael Seligson to the Planning Commission and Zoning Board of Appeals for a term ending August 2017.
So moved.
Support?
Support.
Okay, any discussion or questions?
Just a
All in
comment.
favor?
Just a comment.
Oh, comment, yes.
We're not going to completely let you go.
Yeah. That's dragging him by his heels back into this
Kicking it
after all.
I do have a comment,
Yes,
Madam Mayor.
please.
Just to explain to the audience that when a city council member's term ends and they're on a commission, they're not necessarily automatically put on that, staying on that commission. And so we want Councilmember Seligson to stay on that commission. So he's being reappointed to it as a resident.
As a resident instead of a council member, right. And one member of the Planning Commission has to also go to the Zoning Board of Appeals meetings and be a member of that, and he has agreed to do that. He said Oak Park's been good to me, and I should give back. I think he's given back a lot already. Let's see, we have that vote. There's also an appointment of Elizabeth Fritz Cottle to the Arts and Cultural Commission for a term ending February 2017. She wasn't in... We have to have a voice vote. Oh, a voice vote, sorry, on Michael's. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? You don't count. Okay, motion carries. So Elizabeth Fritz Cottle hadn't been an Oak Park resident long enough to be in that group that we appointed earlier, and so she has now lived in Oak Park for 2 years, and so we'd like to appoint her officially. She's already been going to the meetings, and she's been helping out, and we'd like to appoint her officially to this board. A motion to appoint Elizabeth Fritz Cottle to Arts.
So moved. Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. City Manager Tungate, we're on Department of Public Works.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. 15D, I'd like to ask the Assistant City Manager, Kevin Yee, to join me at the podium to go through this one for us.
Thank you. Attached is a proposal from OHM to perform water system reliability study and general plan. These are required by the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality and are part of the Michigan Safe Drinking Water Act. Funding for this project is available in the Water and Sewer Fund, and it is recommended that the proposal from Orchard Hill to McClimate to perform a water system reliability study and general plan for an hourly not to exceed amount of $22,000 be approved upon final review by the City Attorney's Office. Funding is available in the Water and Sewer Fund for this expenditure.
Okay, a motion to approve this proposal, please.
So moved.
And second.
Second.
Together. Any discussion or questions about this? Okay, roll call vote then, please.
Councilmember Burns?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Levine?
Yes.
Mayor McClellan?
Yes,
Councilmember Seligson?
Yes.
Councilmember Speech?
Yes.
motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Madam Mayor, members of council, moving to our first, as promised, quarterly financial report. I'm going to have our Finance Director, Carl Johnson, join me at the podium to give a brief presentation, council members. But before he does that, I'd like to mention a couple of things about our financial affairs. We are currently in, I would say, one of the strongest financial situations that we've been in some time. We are currently carrying a fund balance of around 15% of our general fund budget. That exceeds our budget in a good way for now the third year in a row. In addition to that, for the first time, as Carl will outline in a moment, for the first time in a very long time, we have been able to pre-fund some of our, upfront fund some of our OPEB liability to the tune of about $1 million. That has not happened in a very long time. In fact, I believe the fund is less than 1% funded at this point. So, of course, we are coming out of pocket every year to make our contributions. So, the good news is that we are on a course for prosperity, notwithstanding another economic downturn, of course. But even if there was another economic downturn, I think we are well prepared to take on any unforeseen circumstances that might come our way. And I just wanted to mention one last thing and then turn it over to Carl. A fund balance of 15% is somewhere in the range of $2.5 million that we keep in our rainy day fund. And this is money that we keep set aside so that if there was an issue, an unforeseen issue, that we could accommodate that issue, or if City Council decides to change the budget during the course of the fiscal year. We are 1/4 of the way through our fiscal year as of September 30. So, Carl, will you add a couple 2 cents there and things I didn't mention?
Absolutely. Good evening, Mayor Council. I had my 1 to 2 hour presentation all set, but the clerk got a hold of me beforehand and said something's going on tomorrow, and I have to keep it brief. So I'll try my best. Obviously, I love to come up here and talk about finances, and literally could talk for hours and hours. So what you have before you is, as Eric pointed out, the first quarter budget to actual report. It's just for the general fund this time. I started just about 3 months ago now, and really been focusing primarily on getting our year-end closed, year-end June 30, 2015 closed, getting the auditors out of here. They were done, I believe, a week ago Friday. So our audit's been completed. The numbers are pretty well set, and they're doing their final preparations of the final audit report, which we'll have in the next month or so, and you'll get another presentation from me at that point. So, but this quarterly amendment, to me, is just critical for not only us internally as the administration, but to you, the governing body, on keeping track of how we are doing, where the city is heading. Are we doing what we said we would do? Are we on track with the budget we put together? Because remember, the Budget Act, the State of Michigan Budget Act that was created, says you will pass a budget, you will estimate what your revenues are, and you will estimate what you're going to spend the money on. But the key word with all that is estimate. It's impossible to know exactly how much revenues you're going to have, exactly what your expenditures are. And I tell all my boards, July 1, the first day of our fiscal year, there's usually something to amend at that point, because things always change. And the Budget Act says amended as facts and circumstances changed, amended as much as you need so that you can use it as a tool. So what you have before you, if you see page 1, after I put 2 pages of kind of narratives together, I try to do it in English because as much as I love finances, I know most of you don't love finances. You want to know where you're at, but you don't want to hear all the debits and credits and all the fund accounting stuff. So I try to put in English the first couple pages as exactly where we're at. And then again, 1 brief page of numbers that spit right out of our general ledger. So this is exactly how we are. So a quarter of the way through the year, we should be obviously at about 25% on our revenues and 25% of our expenditures. So on the revenue side, the first couple categories you see there, let me walk you through the report. Again, the one that has all these wonderful columns, just so you understand quickly what they mean. The first column there, it says year-end 6/30/2015 balance. So that is the balance that has been audited by our auditors. There was no adjustments made to it when I handed it over to them, and that's what we should expect to see in our audit report. If you look at the very bottom of that, where it says net revenues over expenditures, it shows $524,000 positive number. So we ended the year spending less than we brought in. That's what that number means. So that's an operating surplus. Originally, if you recall, in our wonderful 300-page-ish budget document, we estimated that we were going to be in the hole. We were going to spend more than we brought in by more than $600,000. Most of that's due to conservative estimates on what our pension contribution actually was going to be. So when it came in less than what was anticipated, we were able to, as Eric pointed out, put some of that money aside that we had for pension originally and put it into, make an OPEB contribution. Again, OPEB in English, in non-financial terms, is the benefits that we promised to our retirees for retiree health care. We promised all those benefits, but until just recently have not been required to set any money aside to fund those benefits. Currently, the liability related to that is $93 million. And as of last year, we had set aside $600,000 to pay for that. So we've just been kind of paying the premiums as you go, but like our pensions, we should be setting money aside. The year ended June 30, 15, we put $1 million aside. So now we've went from 600,000 to $1.6 million set aside. So again, that's huge. The first time we've made a contribution in years. Again, great, great management and keeping track of really where we're at during the past year. And again, budgeting conservatively, which is what I like. You don't want surprises at the end. I don't want to come to you and say, oh, by the way, we're $1 million worse than we thought. So that's a good thing. So looking at this report, that first column there is where we ended up last year. The next column in is the original budget. So that was what was passed back in, I believe May is when the budget was adopted. The next column over is the amended budget. So we haven't made any amendments yet. That's my next dissertation after this one's done. And then the fourth column in is where we are to date. So this is where we are, revenues and expenditures to date by department. And these are broken down by departments. And that last column there, available balance, is what's the difference between the original budget or the amended budget that we have right now and where we spent. And then I love the percentage column. That just helps, again, for non-accounting people. If we should be at 25%, if we're less than 25%, that should be a good thing. And if we're over 25%, it's a bad thing on the expenditure side, a good thing on the revenue side. Some unusual items, obviously our property taxes all get collected in the first couple months of the year. We've collected about, and this is in my narrative, we've collected about 87% of all our taxes. Our total taxes for all of our revenues, for all of our levies, is about $12.4 million. So we've collected about 83% of that. In addition to that, our state revenue sharing, we get about $3.3 million a year from the state revenue sharing. It's a little unusual. In this report, there's zero included in there for the first quarter. The state of Michigan distributes it kind of late. Our August payment that we get them every other month. Our August payment actually relates to last year. The state requires us to record it back into last year. And again, that's important to note, as Eric pointed out. Why do we need fund balance? Because even though that's recorded as a revenue in our last year's financial statements, we didn't physically receive the money till August. So we have to have fund balance for a cash flow purpose in order to pay our bills until that's received. As well as we roll stuff to tax. On July 1, we rolled stuff to tax, again, recorded as revenue last year, not received till people pay their tax bills this year, et cetera. So that's another key component of why you need fund balance. If you have zero fund balance, you have cash flow issues. And you can't pay your bills on time in a lot of those cases. So it's critical to have that. Cable franchise fees, we get about 600,000 of those a year. Again, zero in this report. We get those paid on a quarterly basis. So the quarter ended 9/30. We start to receive those in October, our first quarterly payment. So again, that's why those are in there. And lastly, we receive our portion of the court revenues, $1.8 million annually. We're running slightly ahead. We're about 25.9% there. So overall, our revenues are just about 60% for the year. So again, you receive all your revenues up front, and you have to use those to pay for things throughout the year. On the expenditure side in total, if you look at the very bottom there in the very last column, it says 20.79%. So we're running under on our expenditures, which is, as a finance guy, I'd love to see that number. So keep that below the 25. So far, so good. I noted 4 or 5 departments in there where there's a few amendments that need to be made, which I'll talk about right after this. But in general, we are right on track to where we want to be as far as the revenues go and our expenditures to go. And what you'll see going forward for me is to the extent we have something that really isn't budgeted, with the amendment that comes before you, whether it's a contract, whether it's anything that is not part of the budget, there'll be an amendment attached to it. Like say, for example, the $22,000 one that we just approved for that, the contract for the water study. If that wasn't in the budget, attached to that would be and amend the budget, because I like the budget to reflect what's actually going on, as opposed to me coming back to you at the end and saying, oh, by the way, we need to increase by $50,000. That way you know if it's budgeted, if it's not, and that's the time where you can decide, do you want to do it or not do it. So those will be included. So that being the case, that is I talk very fast, quick and dirty, but again, this is really good news as far as where we're at. We're right on track. And you'll see in the amendments coming forward, we're even doing better than on track because of that overestimation or conservative estimates for the pension. That same conservatism was carried forward into this year's budget, and we're going to amend that accordingly to the good. So I'll discuss that in a couple of minutes.
And council members, I wanted to just add a couple of things. The conservative revenue estimates included code fee revenue. If you remember back in our budget sessions for the last couple of years, council members, our directive, and you approved just having what we thought we would receive most of the time. And that has paid dividends here as we've gone through this. A couple of other things, just real quick. The reasons why Oak Park's budget is in such great shape today is because we have not gone spend crazy after we've recovered. And we've maintained a pretty, small workforce for the most part of about 191 full-time equivalent employees. And we haven't gone on a spend happy binge like a lot of other communities. In addition to that, of course, we've seen our primary revenue source, which is tax revenue, property tax revenue. We've seen that recover to some degree. One of the issues that we'll face for the council members returning in the next budget will be that the state treasurer has limited our collection of tax revenue on property taxes to an increase of 0.3%. And that's based on the CPI index and whatever it is. And I think, Carl and I have talked about this, but I think that has more to do with fuel prices driving down inflation. And by the way, this year it was 1.6%, if I'm not mistaken. And we only budgeted 1%. So we left 0.6% on the table, again, being conservative and meeting those requirements. So you will see this on a regular quarterly basis. As Carl mentioned, it's important to note that as we present things to you, and staff members that come before you present things to you, which we don't often do, if it does require a budget amendment, we'll be asking for that at that time. And then the catch-all will always be that every quarter, if we've not met those, we will bring those as a series of amendments in addition to the financial report, just like you'll see here in just a moment.
This is wonderful news. Thank you so much for putting it into English.
I tried anyway.
Let's see. So we need a motion to accept this quarterly financial report.
So moved.
Support.
Questions or comments? Yes.
This is just such an improvement to be able to see where we're at and actually have real-time current numbers to look at 4 times a year to help guide us along. And I think that it's just been a great benefit to the city, and I appreciate all of your work on putting this together 4 times a year. Thank you.
So did we vote on
No, we didn't
accepting?
vote. We just had a motion.
We
didn't
need a vote.
We need a vote.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? We've accepted the quarterly financial report, and we're delighted. Bring us good news next time, too.
That's the goal.
Madam Mayor, members of council, Carl is also going to present 15F. And that is, again, the budget amendments that will accompany the report you just heard.
So as I go through this, and as we do our day-to-day activities within the city, as we identify items that need to be amended, we want to bring them to you as quickly as we can. So with the first quarter budget report that you have there, these are the recommended amendments that I've found, again, just for the general fund. Next time you'll have all of the required budgetary funds of the city. And so you'll really get to hear me talk on that one. But this is just for the general fund. And again, I tried to lay out in English. If you look at the very first page there, it kind of lays out where we are, what's the effect of this amendment on the general fund. Because again, as the governing body, yes, you gave me this detailed page that has, about 50 separate line items on it, but what's it really mean? So if you look at the very first page there, it says our estimated fund balance in July 1, 2015 is about $3.4 million. So that's the unaudited official number that we have right now before our audit report comes out. So that's where our fund balance is in total. The budget we adopted in May says we are going to use $800,000 of that budget. That was the formal budget document that was passed. This amendment eliminates the need to use that fund balance, again, primarily because of the conservative estimate that we had for pension. Not only are we not going to use any of the fund balance, but it also includes a contribution to that OPEB fund of $900,000. So we're taking that extra money that we had set aside for pension and putting it in the OPEB fund. Again, $1.9 million worth of contributions over this last year and the next year. So that's great progress coming towards us. And as you know, we get to invest that in just like we do our pension funds. It's not restricted under Public Act 20, where I can only get 0.2% on our earnings. We actually get to invest it in real things and try to get some real return on that money. So the net effect of all of this, as you can see there, is a balanced operating budget. So again, that's kind of a key phrase. So we're not dipping into our fund balance. Every single year, our goal is at a minimum to keep our fund balance where it is. Our rainy day fund, we never want to use that, because if you're in that cycle of this year we're dipping into it $100,000, what happens next year? Well, insurances go up, we give raises to our employees. Every once in a while we have to. I know as finance guy, I have to give them every once in a while, but give raises to employees. Our revenues get limited, as Eric touched on, with the state. We may have a good year, we may have a bad year, but all in all, you have to have that reserve there. And our goal is all the time to balance that. And so what this does is it gives us a balanced annual operating budget for the year we're in right now, and amends the departments as I have attached there. On page 1 is the resolution. You can see that resolution is the kind of summary there of the revenues and the expenditures by department, because that's how we adopt it. And then the page behind that are the specific line items. You can see the majority of those relate to our defined benefit pension plan for public safety, as well as our defined benefit plan for the general employees. It also includes a few other minor items, which again I've laid out there with each of the bullet points. But again, it's very good news that we're eliminating our use of that fund balance and really having a balanced operating budget going forward. Again, this is just, I was only able to spend a few weeks digging into some of this stuff, and again, great news so far, and there'll be much more in the next quarter to really dig into it and refine this. So, but that's what I have for you as of right now.
Thank you.
Okay, so we need motion to approve the budget amendment number 2016-1.
So
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion or questions? Councilmember Speech.
Yes, regarding the amendments, I know you said that going forward, they will be presented when there's something, on the agenda. And so my question is, how much is there, I just foresee, like, for legal fees, I know that, there's 60,000 fees that we had already approved before that you're going to be adding to this. So in the future, if there's additional fees outside of the contracted fees, that we know they're legitimate and everything, those are things that are going to come before us, and you're going to say there's an amendment that is needed for the current budget or what have you, and then you're going to tack that on to the financial budget. Is that how it goes?
Yeah, so let me explain that one in particular, the 60,000. So we have not incurred additional $60,000 in legal fees to date. What we have is, in the original budget, it was included the annual retainer that we have, but it didn't include any for the cases that fall outside it.
Right.
So right now, this is an estimate of, based on last year and the cases that are outstanding, et cetera, of what the guesstimate is as of today of what we think it's going to be. So when I come to you next quarter, or to the extent the case, we get 10 other cases that fall outside of insurance, and our attorneys estimate that, hey, these are going to be another $100,000 or something like that. That next quarter, I would come back to you and say, hey, we need to increase that by 40, be proactive and amend our budget accordingly, and hope that we don't spend it. But I want to get it to a realistic number so that, again, we know whether we spend it or not. That's our best estimate at this time. So if a certain case comes up and there's huge bills, it'll come before you at that time. If not, I'm monitoring those other cases, and there's I'm setting up the general ledger so we can track each of these line items by themselves. So as of the next quarter, if I estimated 60 and say we're at 10, I may reduce that by $10,000 in the next amendment to say, hey, based on our 6 months in, we're only at 10. I think the 60 is a little high. and that's, you know, that's kind of the process I'll take. Really, it's more of the changes in the contract. So during our budget process, we said we're going to do a street project or a water line project or whatever, and the estimate at the time was $300,000. Well, we've seen with the revitalization of the economy in Southeast Michigan, a lot of those quotes have gone up 10 to 20%. So when it actually goes out to bid and it comes in 10 to 20% higher, at that time, that's when we come back before you to say, please approve this contract for $400,000, the budget was $3, and an amendment for $100,000. You know, so that's where you'll see it in individual motions. But the global stuff, I will come back to you really on a quarterly basis to say, here's where I think we're at. So
Okay,
I hope that
so
helps.
It does help, and thank you, by the way, for putting everything in layman's terms for us and for the audience. Excuse me. So that does help, but I would think that at our next budgeting session next year, the council would be able to look at how many amendments we did and try to reduce it and kind of overcast. And maybe this is a question for the city manager, but for you and the city manager, and try to have as least amendments as possible to the budget. Is that right?
That's accurate. That would be
Okay.
ideal. Absolutely. And if I could just, I think the other question is an excellent question. And actually, notwithstanding our contract with our city attorney, what litigation, as Councilmember Speech mentioned, what litigation falls outside of our contracted legal services, and we've seen that just this year. I mean, we've received lawsuits that, you know, for the flood, for example, that we didn't know was going to happen. So, of course, this would be an area where after we do the reconciliation that Carl just mentioned, then as necessary, we'll come back to council and ask for an amendment. And this is another example, just last thing here, of why we keep our fund balance where we do, because we cannot tell, you know, what's going to happen throughout the course of any given fiscal year.
But don't forget, budget amendments are not bad. Budget amendments are recognized, because I could have a budget amendment that says, as Eric pointed out, our property taxes are 0.6% higher than what we budgeted. So in the next amendment, you'll probably see me upping property taxes, you know, by 0.6%, or, you know, et cetera. So it's not always a bad thing. The state of Michigan says the budgets are meant as a tool to help us manage our operations. So good, bad, or indifferent, obviously our goal is to have a perfect budget, but it's impossible. It's truly impossible, you know, but to minimize the amount of amendments, yes, I'd absolutely love to, you know, to only have like this is not a very large amount.
Right.
Next time, unfortunately, you will see 5 pages of it when I hit all of the funds. But again, that's me. I'm new. You know, I'm setting it up the way I like it. That's why you'll see a lot of that stuff. And again, my goal is to really get an understanding of where we're at and make it easier for our department heads to follow their budget and easier for you to understand as well. So that's why you'll see some of that stuff going on as well.
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem.
I just have one question. I know we're increasing the recreation budget for operating expenses for recurring programs. And, you know, we've been on a starvation budget for some time. I just want to get a sense of what recreation is now going to be able to provide for the residents with this extra funding.
Well, with that one, it's actually not an increase. It was kind of an oversight, I think, when the budget was put together. And that line item, it had been averaging about $30,000 a year in that program, and I don't remember exactly what program it was. The budget that was passed only had 10 in it. So this really just kind of restores it back to where it was. We've already had, it's not any new programs, it's just, for whatever reason, there was an omission in the budget of that $20,000.
Okay.
And so we want to just continue with the programs we have. You know, it's one of those kind of deals.
So next April, please consider recreation's needs. Thank you.
Yep. Trust me, that was the first thing the recreation director came to me and said, hey, you know, I got programs here. I need my $20,000 back. So that's why it's in there. Remember, all of these still keep our budget, you know, balanced. You know, it's a $800,000 of the good, even with some of these increases. So.
Further. Thank you. Now, a lot of talking. We voted on this budget amendment? Need a vote? Need a vote. If there's no further discussion, roll call, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Levine.
Yes.
Mayor McClellan.
Yes.
Councilmember Seligson.
Yes.
Councilmember Speech.
Yes.
Councilmember Burns.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Madam Mayor, members of council, I'd like to ask our Director of Community and Economic Development, Kim Maroney, to join me at the podium for 15G.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and City Council members. I am here to request that you sign an interlocal cost sharing agreement with several other cities in the surrounding area. Ferndale, on behalf of 5 other communities, applied for a TAP grant to create a bike, excuse me, a bike corridor to connect all of the communities surrounding the Woodward corridor. And within those 5 communities, it'll be a 17.1 mile bike route, and will connect communities with business centers and schools, parks, and many more items. Our estimated costs are going to be $5,000 total, and $2,000 of that will go towards engineering costs, and $3,000 will be for a grant match. The total cost of our portion of the project is $11,384 and will include 34 signs to be installed around the bike path. I've included in the packet some examples of what those wayfinding signs might include and look like.
So we need a motion to approve this interlocal cost-sharing agreement.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion or questions? Mayor Pro Tem.
Just looking forward to having the bike routes up there, that we can do it in the safest and most up-to-date way as possible.
Yeah, kind of exciting. It's a start, and more will be coming later, I assume.
Yeah, it'll be exciting.
that's
We have over
start.
5 miles just in our city that'll be part of that 17-mile path.
Step in the right direction. So we have a motion and approval? Yes.
No, I just
Councilmember
wanted to
Burns.
comment that we were notified of this earlier in the year, weren't we? This
Yeah, it was in
TAP
the,
grant?
it was in the summertime that we
Summertime.
they applied, I should say, on behalf of all of our other communities.
Okay, yeah, I just want to make sure it was the same.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Just to add one thing, that's absolutely correct. We did make mention of this before, but I wanted to just clarify one thing real briefly, that Ferndale did ask us to be a participant on this, and we took the opportunity to do so. This is not the end of our efforts to pursue bike path funding throughout the city. In fact, this is a good start, as the mayor mentioned. This will have more comprehensive grant applications that will go out in the coming days and weeks.
Yeah, I do remember asking why we were just a participant and had not applied ourselves, so we will be doing that in the future, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Wonderful.
I'm a grant writer now, so.
Just to approve. If any, all set for vote?
Yes.
A roll call to approve this cost-sharing agreement.
Mayor McClellan.
Yes.
Councilmember Seligson.
Yes.
Councilmember Speech.
Yes.
Councilmember Burns.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Levine.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
Madam Mayor, members of council, 15H, I'm going to take, and I just wanted to provide, everyone obviously knows there's an election tomorrow. From the administration's perspective, I have made sure that all of our staff are providing the very best customer service to all of our residents and visitors and everyone else tomorrow. I understand these elections can be what they are, but we will do our very best to make sure people are taken care of at the polling locations. Mr. City Clerk, I don't know if you want to add anything to that. That's all I wanted to say.
Well, I'd just like to remind everybody that the polls open at 7 a.m. and close at 8 p.m. tomorrow. For those of you who still have an absentee ballot, those can be returned tomorrow up until 8 o'clock when the polls close. So sooner the better, but that's the deadline. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Madam Mayor, members of council, I'm going to move on here then to 15I. And 15I, I believe we have a slide, if I'm not mistaken. I have an announcement. I actually have 2 announcements. More good news for the city of Oak Park. How about that? We are here to announce tonight that a company, and I think we see it here, CNI Futurists. Futurists, by the way, is an Australian company. CNI is headquartered over in Madison Heights. They have several locations throughout the country, including some in Mexico. They will be locating at 14925 West 11 Mile. This is that real glossy, nice building on 11 Mile, and they will be bringing their research and development facility to that location, along with immediately 60 to 70 new employees and an additional 15 to 20 program and design engineers in the future. This is a real win for the city of Oak Park. We've been trying to fill this property for a very long time. And thank you, Kim Maroney, for all of your hard work in locating this entity in our fine city. I think it's a great contribution to this city, and we're going to continue to seek out firms like this one. 15J is more of this wonderful news. Right, Kim? Kim, if you would join me at the podium. I think everybody knows that we have a facade improvement program here at the city of Oak Park now. Kim, if you take it from here.
Yeah, we've been trying to get funds for our facade improvement program, and we partnered as a fiduciary with what used to be the Michigan Suburbs Alliance, now Metro Matters, and we applied for a grant with PNC, and they let us know today that we got our grant for $10,000 to help fund that program. So we are now at a grand total of $28,500 to help fund facade grants within the community of Oak Park. So businesses, come apply and come see me.
And while that may sound like a small sum of money in the greater context of things, keep in mind that these are grants for these businesses, small businesses throughout our community, who oftentimes can use these funds to go out and get bank financing because they have the upfront capital to do so. $1,000 in this effort makes a tremendous impact. And I know, Kim, I don't think we can share some of the applicants we've seen, but we have filled up our pipeline with applicants, and so you should see some new storefronts out in our community very soon.
Isn't our maxing match with 2,500?
The max match,
The max,
I believe.
match at 2,500? Okay.
Yeah.
I've been talking to businesses and I've been telling them about the program.
Wonderful.
It's a 50-50. They have to put in, yeah.
50-50, yeah.
Madam Mayor, members of council, that completes the city manager report for this evening. Thank you.
Holy cow. Let's do the photo because this baby has been just so good. Can we bring Mayor Pro Tem Levine and his family up to the front? Maybe we can stand behind them and then they can be in the picture. She's 10 months old, the baby, if you were wondering. Next, we have the call to the audience. Please give us your name and address and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Do you have a timer? Yeah. Everybody's quiet? Call to council, okay. Councilman Seligson, who is the longest serving, I think, next to former Mayor Naftali. And possibly longest serving in the history of Oak Park. We will check our records.
Have a good night, everybody. I have a few words to say before I leave, but I'll save those for the last meeting in 2 weeks when we have the final meeting of this council. So
Changing of the guards.
changing guard. Have a great night, everybody.
Thank you. You want any order you want? Councilmember Burns?
Thank you, everyone, for coming out. It's been a pleasure serving with Councilman Levine and Councilman Seligson. My only regret is that I was only able to work with them for 2 very short years.
Right.
Everyone have a nice evening.
Nice.
I share the same sentiments as Councilwoman Burns, and just the ability to be able to sit next to these gentlemen and learn, for the last 2 years has been a privilege. I know this is not our last meeting. I will have more to say the next time, but I just want to thank Mayor Pro Tem Levine and also Councilmember Seligson for not only serving Oak Park citizens so well, but being willing to serve on the board and be good team players and, just be a part of making Oak Park great and moving us forward.
Wonderful. Thank you. And Mayor Pro Tem, you're...
I actually wrote something down, so rather than
please
extend the
take your
meeting
time.
next time, I thought I'd share that with you because this is a good chance to say an official goodbye, and thanks to our Honorable Mayor McClellan and Councilmember Burns, Councilmember Speech, and special recognition to Councilman Seligson. We've served 8 years, I've served with you, and I enjoyed every time we agreed and every time we disagreed because we challenged each other to do our best for the community, and that's what it's all about. Just like to take a moment to share my thoughts about my tenure on council because I have the opportunity to do so. So people who know me well know that I'm one of the authentic original Oak Parkers. My parents moved to this fast developing suburb in 1952 after sharing a flat with my grandparents in the early post-war years. So they finally found a place of their own where they could raise their family, and it was before the street was paved and filled with houses. And I grew up at Oak Park and with Oak Park, watching a young and vibrant community mature and enjoying it as a safe place to live with good schools, neighborly city employees, friendly public safety officers, a resourceful community library, and great recreation programs that reached out into the neighborhoods and brought everyone together at parks, schools, playgrounds, and community center. I married a fellow Oak Parker and raised my family here in Oak Park and care very deeply that Oak Park now and in the future will provide the opportunities and life experiences that I found here as a child and as a parent of my children as they grew. Just over 8 years ago, when I was asked to circulate petitions and run for council, I considered it a great honor, and those of you who know me know that when it comes to an honor to serve, I find it very difficult to say no. And I thank Councilmember Kurt Youssef, Mayor Jerry Naftley, and Joe Lewis, one of my neighbors and friends, for getting me involved at that time. When it comes to an honor, like I said, it's hard to say no. Oak Park is my hometown, and I consider everybody here in Oak Park, all the residents, as my neighbors. So I've been very honored to serve you as a volunteer and then as an elected official. And that's what I feel I'm doing, is representing my neighbors and all of Oak Parkers as best as I can and with as much thoughtfulness as I can muster. I was very fortunate to have been able to run for this office twice without accepting any campaign donations, special favors, or special treatment. I was privileged to have overwhelming support from neighbors across Oak Park who know me and trusted me to represent everyone with fairness, commitment, and distinction. I want to thank my source of support and encouragement, my parents of blessed memory, my children, and especially my wife, Sharon, my partner in life. And she found it easier than I did when we had closed sessions and I could not share with her all that confidential information and happenings. I also want to thank so many committed and deserving members of the city staff, administrative leadership, and when I say Director Cooper, that goes for all of the people that are working with you, all of the management, all of the patrol officers, and a special shout out to Director Cooper for continuing to build a more diverse and community-oriented public safety team. I thank our city attorney, Ebony Duff, who works continually to sustain the integrity of our city government, and our city manager, Eric Tungate, who shared and extended my vision for coming out of the Great Recession better positioned and stronger than when it began. I thank Councilmember Angela Diggs-Jackson for helping me bring Eric to Oak Park, Councilmember Emile Duplessis, who was among us to help encourage the unified support to stabilize and move the city forward. I want to thank all of my colleagues who have worked together with me in the interest of our residents, and my mentors in government who taught me the basics and led by their examples. Most of all, I want to thank all my fellow residents of this great community, because I've enjoyed working for you, I've enjoyed working with you, and I'm very humbled by all the good wishes and acknowledgments that I've been receiving. Oak Park is a dynamic community that rises to the fore of originality, innovation, and progress, and is a model of a diverse community. I came aboard the government trying to improve the community vitality, adding the library renovations to a more efficient one-stop city hall, which was envisioned to lower ongoing costs, improve community service, and accessibility. I also helped to reduce that budget by over $1.8 million. You can correct me if I'm wrong on that. I think we took it down by almost $2 million of the original budget that we had. After my first 2 years in office, the global economic crisis hit. It was a time of great political turmoil in the city. I'm proud to have worked through a very bleak time in terms of the position of the city, and a lot of destructive forces working against us to help to bring us towards a brighter and more secure future for everybody in the community. It's always an ongoing task to maintain and improve the quality of life that Oak Park affords, and I pass the baton on to the new leadership and look forward to working at a more grassroots level to advocate with my neighbors for this place that we all call home. As I prepare for this personal transition, I feel important to share a discovery I made as I prepared to leave office. I've been told and confirmed that nearly all the photos from city events and programs for the past decade or more have been destroyed, and I'm very sad and feel robbed by this, that our community photos documenting so many great moments involving so many of our residents may be unrecoverable. Fortunately, some of these photos were out on the internet. I think that we'll be able to recover from Facebook, but I also hope that together residents of our community can work and bring in photos to help replenish our city's album, and that efforts will be made to ensure that something like this can't happen again. I thank you, Oak Park. It's my continuing privilege to live here and to have served you this many years. May we be blessed in all good things. Have a good night.
Beautiful words, thank you. This is the last full meeting of Oak Park's 35th City Council. Tonight we honored these two amazing people who have served our city. Everyone has noticed recently the new energy and momentum building in Oak Park. People that I've talked to have mentioned it. Have you noticed the new signs? Have you noticed the new flowers? Have you noticed the lights and all the new things coming and all the activities that are coming? This council has taken many needed aggressive steps to move this city forward. This city council and the previous one ordered a study by Hamilton Anderson that set the course for our development of the next 10 to 20 years. The ink wasn't dry on the plan before our staff started implementing it. We passed tavern licenses, we allowed outdoor dining, we put new welcome signs and landscaping up. The Corridor Improvement Authority isn't too sexy, but it's going to have an enormous effect on the future of the city of Oak Park. We had our first meeting with the board, and Manager Kim Maroney presented goals for the next 20 years that we hope to make real. It is going to make a huge difference in our city. This council ordered the study of the 9-mile corridor, talking about putting it on a little street diet so that we can have bike lanes there, so we can have parking, so we can have center islands for activities, and in the residential areas, center islands with trees and landscaping. This council approved the building of Jefferson Oaks, a $16 million project that will breathe new life into the area south of 9 Mile Road, providing playgrounds and green space for the kids in the neighborhood. This council is witnessing the total renovation of the former Northgate Apartments. $7 million is being put into there for phase 1. new roads, new roofs, new bathrooms, new kitchens, everything, and on-site security. That is going to make a huge difference for those of us in North Oak Park. A secure, safe place with good neighbors who are committed to our community. The city's fund balance is up to 15% this year, so we're prepared for unforeseen happenings. The legacy costs that haven't been dealt with before during the economic downturn are being addressed now, and we're on a great path. The city has managed our money very well over the last 4 years, thanks to our city manager and staff. We refinanced 2 street bonds and saved you tax money. Consolidated health care funds saved millions of dollars. We changed the pension system from an unproductive vendor to the best in the region. We eliminated benefits for council members that will save the city up to $100,000 a year. Our departments run better. We're on a path to get our pensions fully funded. The tax base is growing. We've set a course for broadening the tax base. Economic development, the whole purpose is to bring vibrancy to our city and to bring increased values in our retail areas and increase taxes that way so everything doesn't depend on you, the residents. We have this award that we won for excellence in economic development. We are being recognized all over the state for what we're doing here. We plan and do. There are no plans sitting on shelves gathering dust. It's incredible what's happened. Thanks to this council. This council had to approve everything that happened. So the staff gets wonderful credit for everything that they've done, but we've been there saying, you go, guy. And we get credit too for that, this council. Manager Maroney and I attended One Stop Ready on Friday, and our goal was to fill the former Kmart. We had several bites of several interested investors, and we would love to see something wonderful happen. It will happen. For the first time in a generation, our city's population is actually growing. It is a thrilling time to be an Oak Park resident. You can see the changes wrought by this council. You can feel the new excitement. Our city is a different place than it was before, thanks to the people sitting in front of you now. Once again, it will be a vibrant city, a better Oak Park, and for all that they have done for us, we thank them. Thank you, City Council of the City of Oak Park. Tomorrow is Election Day. It's only the mayoral seat that's on the ballot. I'm counting on you to come out to vote if you haven't already.
Everything's on the ballot.
What's that?
Everything's on the ballot. We have our council members.
Council members. There's 2 council members who are coming who are not contested. The only contested item is the mayoral race. I need you to come out and vote for whoever you choose to lead your city. It has been a tremendous honor to me to serve you, and I thank you for that. And there being no further items to come before this council, this meeting is adjourned.